Okay, hi everyone. Just going to do a very quick tutorial again for using this software called Lucid Press. Nice and simple and straightforward, and it's mainly to do with layout and design. So you can use your own sort of Google account if you've got one to register and sign in. Other than that, use your college email and just set yourself an account up that way. I've already got one, so I'll just go through the process of doing this. It's a nice piece of software actually. It's pretty simple and straightforward, and it also ties in with a piece of software called InDesign that some of you may be a little bit more familiar with if you've done layout stuff in the past. So once you've logged in, you get something that looks a little bit like this. Please don't worry too much about going for some of the templates that are in there. We want to kind of think about creating things from scratch. Obviously, it will show more in terms of your creativity and practical skills. So a couple of ways you can do, just go from here, start with a blank document, okay? And eventually when it loads up, it will sort of show you the interface as to how Lucid Press will work. There are a few things that are already on there already because I've used this already, and things that you might need to kind of put on your pages. But the first and most important thing is that we get things set up perfectly, ready for the size of documentation. So to begin with, first, foremost, and most importantly, let's just go with A4 because it's a standard sort of way that we might look at magazines, and it gives us easy way to work around with your pages. So let's just make sure that that is set to the A4. And then if we pop over to the left-hand side to our sort of layer part, from there, if we just add another one in and just make that second one, if you sort of pop over to your orientation, okay, it will stick it on its side, and you might from there be able to set it up as an A3. Typical, it's not done it, now it has done. So what that will kind of do is it will give us our sort of A4 page as your front cover, and then it will give you two A4 pages side by side, effectively making an A3. And that's the best way to go about things, all right? That's the best way to kind of work with your pages and setting things up, all right? You can put your lock on it if you want to. It's sort of your call, but I think once most things are kind of set up and put in place, you'll be able just to work around it like so. You will find straight away that this is extremely limited in comparison to using Vector for your masthead or Pixlr for the editing and manipulation of your images. That the most important thing to think about here is it is all about layout and positioning and putting things in places that will reflect your design of your magazine, obviously your front cover and your inlay pages. So we can kind of have a little look over here as to how some of these things will work. Straight away, we begin just with your sort of layout up at the top. We've then got some of your text boxes, so you've got your headings and subheads and body, so like where your copy will go. You've got some shapes in there if you want to kind of put some shapes onto your pages. I know I sort of said about using some vector stuff to create them. As you'll see, extremely basic in terms of what they are. So some things might work. It just depends on what you're going for in your own sort of design. Next most important thing is looking at your aspects of images, okay? So you'll see in here straight away that I've got some that I've already uploaded, ones that I've used and sort of ones that I'm going to use today just to put this tutorial together. But from there, you will hopefully be able to source and locate where your images may be. So your images will always go in there. You've got ones that will come from the internet. Maybe don't worry about them too much. Other than that, if you click on Manage, and you pop over to where it says upload, so it's just this upload in the center, you'll be able to bring in anything that you have saved and the ones that you edited last week as part of that activity one, the editing and the manipulation of your images. Now, this is not going to look anything spectacular by any shape or form, but it will hopefully give you a little bit more as to where you may go. So I've just opened up the folders. As I said, I've got my images that I'm going to use in here to put my pages together, and I've also got some that I've taken myself that I'm going to use to build in that originality towards my cover. So all you do is obviously sort of click on it. Once you're happy with it, just click on open, and it will just sort of pop it into this browser, give it a second to upload, and everything will sort of be saved in your online folder. And then from there, we can just start to place whatever, wherever we need them to go. All right. So, so I'll just sort of show you this one first with your masthead, and this is just something I was messing about with the other week, not the one that I'm going to go for with my sort of magazine and my page. But this is just something that I created on Vector week before last. Simple, straightforward one. Remember, it has been saved as a PNG. I talked about the integral importance of using a PNG because it will get rid of your background. It will create it as a transparent layer. So if I just simply click on Insert, it will sort of show and pop up on the page there. Obviously, I've messed up that big time, and actually I want it as part of my front cover, which is up here. And a very simple drag and manipulate will put it more to the size that you want. And as I said, it will work quite nicely because you've got that transparent layer behind, and there we sort of go, okay? Obviously, you can start to drop in all the other elements that you might want on there on your page. This is obviously going to kind of come back to your own sort of thoughts and ideas, okay? So straight from there, I'm just going to go with a nice heading. Again, I keep putting it down there, but there we go. Zoom in a bit. And we'll just drag this, get hold of it, come on. So I'll get hold of that and just move it back up onto our front cover. And we just get something like that. Sorry. So we just get something that kind of works like that, okay? And that is going to be my sort of my main cover line, okay? The one that's going to kind of be placed and the one that's going to be all about Gallagher, so to speak. So just a little bit kind of working from the side of your text. Down the right-hand side now, you'll find more of the editing and the manipulation that you can bring into it. You've obviously got a massive array of different typefaces and fonts that are kind of in there, and you can work through some of them and choose one that might kind of work and fit a little bit more to what you are desiring. You've obviously got your size up here, so you can increase it bit by bit, or you can double click and put a number in, whatever sort of thing you are going for. All right, I'm just going to leave it on 100 just to sort of demonstrate and show you a bit more, okay? So I'm going to kind of just leave it like that for a second. We have all of your sort of alignments, so if you want it to be centered to the left, to the right, a little bit more justified in the middle. And we've got other parts of paragraph styles as well. I'll talk more about them when you actually do your copy and layout. Some of the nice other features in here as well is looking at the space in between your letters and your words. So you can sometimes sort of stretch them out a little bit like so. Bring it back in, make it a little bit closer. Again, you can widen things in terms of individual letters or bring it all together like so. And you can type in obviously the percentage that you want for each of them. It's obviously your call on how you want all that to work. Yeah, that will kind of work as a basic for it. Obviously, you've got your colour that's kind of in there as well. I'm just going to go with a little bit of blue because it fits to the front cover a bit more. And yeah, that's kind of where we're up to, okay? So from there, you're able to look at the actual text box itself. You can put a fill in there, so maybe you might want a nice little pink. See how that one works. You might want to stick a border on it as well and change that and make that a bit blacker so it stands out a bit more. Obviously, you're going to decide this yourself, and make it a bit more conventional with things. So just pop back onto your shape. If you want to stick a bit of a shadow on that box, obviously it's your sort of call. I think that will probably work more towards the inlay pages. So I ain't happy with that. I'm just going to get rid of it and I'm going to make it transparent, and that's the way that it's going to be. Okay. You can kind of work with your arrangement as well and look at how the position of things may be. So put it in front or behind. depending on the layout of your pages. You just sort of do it like so. So if I drop in another headline and I'll just write random, we can sometimes work with those text boxes in and around. Place them wherever you kind of want. So again, if we just pop back upwards to the layout and start to look at the order and the positioning of things, you can work around it and just work up on top of each other, that sort of way. Don't worry about the text wrapping just for now. We'll focus on that when we actually come to the columns and actually putting your copy together. Okay. So that's how it all kind of simply works with the elements of your front cover. You can obviously decide things a little bit more as to how you want it. I'm just going to go for this image and place this image in there to show you how it works. So just simply drag across, like so. Okay, and this is my horrendously cut out picture of Gallagher, but just for very simple demonstration purposes. I'm just going to use this one, okay? So straight away, we got the image. We can do whatever we want to it in terms of manipulating a little bit further. But from there, we might need to focus a little bit more now on the positioning of things. So this is where we come back to this arrangement side. And we can start to decide on where they're going to be positioned. So if I just send that backwards, like so, and keep clicking and click moving and going through each of them, you'll see that ultimately my image of Gallagher has been placed all the way down at the bottom. And if I sort of bring that one forward, you see and notice that it just goes in front of your masthead. So that's something that you might need to think about as to when you position and work with your layers. But the most important thing is once you've selected your page and you want to sort of go through those stages as well, just pop onto layout and then work around that arrangement and start to see what you feel works a little bit better. Obviously, this is absolutely horrendous in terms of how it looks, but it will just give you a simple, straightforward and basic understanding of how the front cover will work. Now, I mentioned sort of last lesson and earlier this week that you may decide that you prefer to actually use Pixlr to do your front cover because it is much more manipulation and it is much more editing and it's a bit more using of images and messing about with text. So it might kind of worked in a better way for that. Now, with that one in mind, you would have seen already that I had already created something in Pixlr, a horrendous looking front cover that was absolutely awful. But I'm just going to pop that into my sort of pages, so you can see a little bit more as to how that would generally sort of work. Where's it gone? Sorry. My apologies. But yeah, this was just what I did, messing about, having a play about in the class, just to kind of show you. So obviously you can choose your exported image from Pixlr if you want to go that way. So just click on open. It will drop it into your folder with all of your images. Just give it a second or so to sort of upload. Click on it and just insert. And as you'll see, it will fit in this sort of way with the layout itself, and all you need to do is just drag it to your corners, fit it to the edges, and fingers crossed it will look a little bit like that, and bang, you've got a front cover all ready. So it's a nice way to kind of work about with the front cover, to mess about with some of the features that will be in there as well. And I'll wrap this up now because I'll give you a bit of time to work on your front cover and put it in terms of your layout and keep everything together. Okay, so obviously have a little play about and have a work around this with your layout. It's important that we do it through Lucid Press, so we can export it out as a sort of working document, and it makes it 10 times easier for me to mark as well. Okay, yeah, we'll come back and have a look at the more intricate parts of your double page spread and how that's going to work. Okay, guys, cheers for sticking with me anyway. Nice one.